Hi, I've had a lot of people ask me to tell my story about how I beat diabetes, and so I'm just going to record a video and upload it on YouTube, and it can be shared. I was diagnosed with diabetes at 35, and basically, uh, diabetes is rampant on both my parents' side. I've always been a junk food junkie. I've been a binge eater, and uh, ate a lot of junk food. And so, with my job, I would be sent on the road for work, for projects at a time. So living on the road, and anyway, I was out of province for about a year and a half. Always been able to come home on the weekends, but while I was out away for work, I'd always eat really, really bad. Not, I thought I was eating well enough. I'd still go to fast food, but instead of ordering pop and fries, I'd just grab the burger and some water. And but in over time, bad decisions add up, and being susceptible to the disease in my genetics, it caught up to me. I've always been really big as a football player, a lineman. I've always been around 300 pounds, up or down, but I was able, because of my habits, I ballooned up to about 340 pounds in November 2018. And so when I was done my project and home for the winter in December, doctor called. I went in for a different reason, and I got a blood test, and then the doctor called one day and said that I got to go in. My blood test came back and my blood sugar was high, and at 35 years old, a week before Christmas, the doctors told me I was diabetic, at an A1C of 9.9, and it kind of blew me away to be 35 years old with diabetes. It was humbling. I've always thought of myself as sort of Superman, and so it was tough. Compounding how hard I took it, we had a family friend who died just a few months ago, who had diabetes his whole life, and ended up dying after some major complications. He had cancer and amputations, and anyway, ended up dying a few months before that. And so, I kind of felt like I had a gun to my head. 35 years old, diabetic, fighting for my life. I don't, if I would have kept on the same path I was on when I was in my 50s, what kind of quality of life would I have had? So really felt like I had no choice. Always been an athlete. I always trained hard. Always for sports, and so performance was always athletic performance was always big for me. So I ate a lot of calories, but I worked it off, and so not competing anymore. It just got to me. But because I was an athlete, because I was as analytical and a student of the game, a student of training and diet and exercise, I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I did it. And that next morning, after I saw the doctor, basically I started a new regimen. Fortunate enough, I was able to already begin building a small gym in my basement, and so I invested a little bit more money into that, and to what I needed, what I wanted, and what I needed. I thought for my gym on my basement for equipment. Because of playing football for so many years, my knees were bad. I actually blew my knee quite a few years ago, so I did have knee surgery, but I did hurt my knee again just that previous summer. So I was waiting for arthroscopic surgery, which I got after my diagnosis in March. So so on a bum knee, diabetic, needing to lose some weight. I felt like I had a gun to my head, and there was not going to be no excuse that was going to keep me away from doing what I needed to do to get healthy again. So got a recumbent bike in my basement that helped with how poorly my joints and hips and knees and everything else felt. I was able to do that daily, and I got enough gym equipment in my basement to do everything that I felt like I wanted to do while I was lifting. Squat rack and dumbbell set and Olympic weights. So I felt well equipped. So basically my exercise regimen would be every morning my wife and I would get up, she would go and take the dog for a walk, and I would go in the basement and hit the recumbent bike, and every day I would switch it up. One day I would do steady state cardio, low intensity for 40 minutes minimum, and the next day I would do high intensity interval training, which would be low intensity until for a minute, and then high intensity for a minute, and really watch my heart rate and tried to get it up into the 150s and 160s, and then I'd do that for 15 minutes minimum. And then so that was my exercise regimen first thing in the morning, in fasted state before I ate breakfast, and so I did that without skipping a day, and I still maintain that at this point, about 18 months later. Then I would go to work in the morning, come home at lunchtime, and then every day I would hit the weights. Sometimes I felt tired and tough, but I without breaking the habit at all, I would hit the weights and do that every day, and make sure I try to get my heart rate up at the same time, but really worked at lifting heavy and lifting with volume also, and basically I did a chest day, a shoulders and triceps day, a back and biceps day, and couldn't do lower body because of my knee, but basically I get on those 3 days rotation and really work hard at a modified bodybuilding routine that my friend gave me. So bike in the morning and lifting at lunchtime, and I did that religiously every day, and I still maintain that schedule closely now, but when I dropped the 70 pounds in 4 months, did it every day without stopping. My diet, a lot of people said that I got to do keto and I got to get away from carbs, and that I've always tried to go low carb. I've tried to go keto before. I've tried intermittent fasting. Nothing ever worked for me. Fasting doesn't. I felt terrible. Really low energy, almost sickly. So I did my research, found out what were some good low glycemic carbohydrates that wouldn't spike my blood sugar, and I decided that every morning I was going to have steel cut oats, prepared steel cut oats for breakfast every morning with hard-boiled egg whites. I would remove the yolks because my cholesterol was high also with the high blood sugar. I'd have those every day for breakfast without deviating from that any day. 3 eggs and 2/3 of dry steel cut oats, prepared, boiled and cooked. And then for lunch I would have a smoothie. I would have basically a fruit smoothie. I would put in about a cup of water, about half a cup of cottage cheese. That gives the smoothie fantastic flavor and texture, and a scoop of vanilla protein powder. And I really fell in love with frozen mangoes and pineapples, and it was a fantastic lunch. Loved it, and I still do, and eat that very often. I ate that every day. So basically, not low carb at all, right? But the correct carbs. And then for halfway through the afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, I would have some sunflower seeds, a small portion, probably half a cup of seeds or cashews or peanuts or whatever it was. And then for supper, I would have a meat and vegetable, so no carbs at supper time. And then for bedtime snack, typically I would have some plain Greek yogurt, which I mixed with typically a banana, half a banana. And that was my daily diet, my daily workout regimen. And I started in mid-December at 340 pounds. In April that next year, so 4 or 5 months, I dropped down to 262 pounds was my lowest. And then I went back to the doctor. A1Cs were about 6.4, I think, at that point. And I beat diabetes in 4 months. Obviously, I still understand that my the biology of my body is still susceptible with the genetics I have from my family on both sides. That if I eat too much sugar, I will have glycemic spikes. So I still maintain that routine basically. I've gained a little bit of weight back. I'm about 270 pounds right now. But I maintain that routine and maintain that diet. And a year later, went back and got my blood glucose, my A1Cs tested again, and still everything's really, really good. So health continues to improve. I've maintained a good lifestyle with exercise and diet, and I didn't have to do it without cutting any carbohydrates. So I did cut the poor carbs, but maintained, discovered good carbs and maintained a good carb intake. Portions are key. The right food is key. The right exercise is key. The right lifestyle is key. And so I'm just thankful to God that I was able to modify my lifestyle to do what I did. And I'm thankful that He allowed me to catch my health dilemma at the time that I did, and I didn't sit on it for 5-10 years, as some people unfortunately end up happening to them. And so honestly, this is probably the best thing that has ever happened to me health-wise. But anyway, I just wanted to share this. Feel free to share it. And I'm not doing it for to get likes and hits, but I'm just doing it because people have asked, and I hope it encourages someone to be able to do what I did and make their life better. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.